Tall Maj, Summit Racing for the win. I got a hose coupler. I usually don't use these, but in this case it allows me to get the engine broken in and moving forward while I wait for hopefully the correct hose to show up. This is a Summit 390002, and it's a size bushing radiator hose reducer. I usually don't use these, but in this case I'm gonna. Moving forward. It's too high for me. Ooh, putting it down on my tripod. That's not smart. Alright, well, we got oil in the oil pan, we got water in the radiator. Let's roll this thing outside and light it up for half an hour. 'Cause that's not stressful at all. I gotta move something. Fresh battery, let this thing spin over and fire. charging. A bit of a noise I'm not really happy about. Well, I don't know if this cam's going to take or not. I've got a noise that I'm not sure what it is. That's the tough brake on cam braking. I definitely have a tappy noise. Runs good. It's charging. Oil pressure looks amazing. Yeah, I don't know. I may be pulling the valley back apart on this thing to look at lifters. That's what happens with hot rods, I guess. I gotta let this thing cool down completely. I did get 20 minutes worth of engine break-in time. Initially, when I started it up, I didn't have my tack, which was something I will take note of in the future to make sure my tack is operating so that I'm breaking it in at the correct RPM, because I had it a little higher than I should have. But we'll see. Maybe I'll be putting another cam in this thing. Cars can be frustrating sometimes. Everything's looking good though. Feels like I might have a misfire coming and going. I'll have to figure that out. It sat all day, it sat all night. After running it in yesterday, it seemed like it was doing okay, but I thought I was hearing a little bit of a maybe a lifter noise. I'm hoping it's not a lifter noise, but let's start it up cold and see what it sounds like. Well, it sounds good, but it doesn't sound good. Considering it's pushing the oil dipstick out. I wonder if it's actually hitting it, because I'm starting to think that this doesn't have the lower dipstick tube installed in the engine block. That would make sense. Because this has a 3-piece dipstick tube. The middle piece will slide all the way down into the block, which makes me think the lower dipstick tube was not put back in this when this engine was out previously. So that's good to know. Let me set timing, make sure we're good there. Base timing. car is full of mysteries. Get it inside, cut my wheel filter out, and see what we can figure out. That's all we can do. We got to take it apart again. We'll have to take it apart again. That's what sucks about flat tappet mechanics. Didn't need that. Well, I don't know what it needs yet, so I'm not going to create unneeded drama until I know what is wrong with the thing. Let's keep moving forward. I need to disconnect my battery and reorient my positive cable on the starter because it's rather close to the block and it's loose on the starter, so that probably explains why my starter does weird things sometimes. So I'm trying to find this little tick noise that this thing has. And it's weird because I started it up cold and it wasn't there, and then as it came up to temperature it became more pronounced, and then it just stayed the same. I pulled the valve cover off the driver's side and everything looks good. The oil doesn't look bad. I'm actually going to pull the oil filter and cut it open here in a little bit, but I'm going to fix this starter cable real quick because that way that's behind me. Found a lot of little things that are messed up on this car as I've been going through this thing and sorting out things. I honestly never drove this car long enough to get it hot, so I don't know. I don't think it had a ticking noise, but I don't really know. I never really drove it. But I would think that I would have heard this noise previously if it was something that was there. So I have to resolve it and figure it out, because that's what we do. Sounds like it's coming from the back. But it's a weird noise. Weird. Well, you guys don't need to watch me fumble with this for 10 minutes. I'm glad I checked that. This car could have been a bonfire. You can see the arcing on the wire, and you can see the arcing spots on the block right there and there. So that cable was occasionally making sparks under the hood and wasn't making good connection with the starter. When I would go start it, it would growl, or it would not start, it would just click. And that's because the positive battery cable, the direct link from the battery to the starter, which is always hot, was loose, and it was allowing the cable to hit the block and make a positive path to ground, and that's when sparks happen. And sparks are not good, especially when you're like on vacation or driving down the road. So we'll fix that while we are in here. I don't want to make that adjustment. I'm just going to make some adjustments to it. Ooh, that was bright, right in the eyes. Oh, that's not smart. My excite wire is tight, so I'm not worried about it. I'll fiddle around with this for 20 minutes or so, and then it'll be done. You guys don't need to watch the back of my head. Oh, what'd you do that for? Well, we're going to cut the oil filter open and see what it looks like. It's hot. Oil looks pretty good, all things considered. Let's take that over to the vise and we'll cut it open. Well, that escalated quickly. So I had a noise I didn't like, and I decided I wanted to verify the situation. So I pulled the engine. I'm going to pull the oil pan off, check rod and main bearings, and see what's going on, because I've got a weird engine noise, and I don't want to release this to the customer only to have the engine come apart on his drive home or a month down the line. And it'll allow me to put a remain seal and oil pan gasket in it, so I guess there's that. At any rate, I'm going to roll this thing over and pull the oil pan off. Actually, I'm going to pull the oil pan off before I roll it over. That way any trash in the oil pan, if there is any, doesn't end up in the engine. So I'm going to zip the oil pan off real quick, and we'll see what we see. Because that's what you do when stuff breaks. You fix it. The problem doesn't just go away. Do not have a lower dipstick tube. That's something I was wondering. Something else we can remedy while we're in here. Bearing material, but we're going to roll this engine over, pull our rods and mains, and take a look, because I want to know. Screen looks amazing. Cruddy in there. The weird thing about this noise is it would come in once the engine oil was hot. When it was stone cold, it would not make any noise. So I'm honestly expecting to see a rod bearing that's possibly scathed, or a piece of trash went through it. But everything's looking pretty clean. Front main looks perfect. It's not loud enough that I would have a rod that would be loose, but it's still in noise I don't like to hear. Let's get this thing stripped out. Standard bearings. That one doesn't look great. So I would say this engine was refreshed, not rebuilt. If no machining was done, it's not really a rebuild. The first two rod caps I pulled off, they don't look great. Well, I'm glad I pulled it apart. So I would say this this rod bearing here that falls out, the cap is our light knocking noise that is not there when the engine oil is cold. So I'm going to go ahead and strip this down again, pull the crank out, we'll polish the crank, mic it, make sure it's still within spec for standard bearings, and then we'll put it back together. Bearing should not fall out of the cap. So I'm going to put these caps back on because I need to mark all of my rods and caps. It's harder to do than it needs to be. So looking back, I'm glad I took it apart. This engine would have failed relatively quickly with the rod bearing that's that loose. This one still had good tension in the cap, but it showed some damage as well. I did pre-oil this thing before I fired it up and broke the cam in. I don't really have an answer. I'll pull that one off here in a minute too. Let me get these marked. Check my lifters. This way when I roll it over it doesn't knock them all over the... Well, the cam's wiped. That's wonderful. Alright, let's do this all over again. And that's why hydraulic flat tappet cams can be a pain, because if braking doesn't go right, it's all over. Multiple failures on this engine reassembly on my part. So I'm going to get another camshaft coming for it. So I think I'm going to be investing in a little tool that improves oiling to the camshaft on these. It's $130 and it allows the lifters to have an oiling point to improve oiling flow to the cam. The back lobe on the cam wiped during cam break-in, so it is no good. Cam and lifters are junk. So, what's that? That's sad. Sometimes you try to do it right and it still bites you in the rear. That one doesn't look like it was rotating either. Nope, that one didn't rotate. I'm not going to make any money on this job. Take $400 and throw it in the trash can. Yay! I think someone even said, I bet that cam's only going to last about 10 minutes. He was right. That one didn't rotate. Well, I'm glad I pulled the engine back out to double check everything. The struggle bus just keeps running me over this month. Last night somebody broke into my truck while I was sitting in a dealership because I picked up my Buick for the weekend. And they smashed the big side glass out of my Yukon XL. That's $450 I get to spend because somebody needed a Milwaukee leaf blower without a battery more than I did, apparently. Camshaft braking can be a dicey thing. I seem to remember one of my buddies with a big block Chevy in his boat, and he wanted more power, so he changed the camshaft in his boat. In the boat. And he got really good at changing that camshaft because he went through 4 camshafts before he had one that made it through the break-in process. That was a long time ago, but a little bit disappointed. The struggle bus that keeps running me over must have 2 axles in the back. Let's check this thing up on the lathe, and we'll mic it out. As good as we're gonna get. Ooh, I think that was our knocker there. That one's showing brass. None of them were spun. They were definitely distorted. That's the winner. It's definitely the winner out of the bunch.
Unfortunately, that's where this chapter in this saga is going to end. Definitely didn't plan on having this chapter, but as the saying goes, that's hot rodding. We ate our brand new comp cams, and we've got some seriously bad rod bearings. I'll give you the view there. Clearly bad. Now it also obviously is going to get a whole lot worse once the bearing material or the lifter material went through the bearings. You can see the pattern there. Hopefully you can see that. But the real winner is this guy here. You can see how much it ate of that lifter. I mean, it's not even flat on the top anymore. Unfortunately, that happens. So, crankshaft mic'd out okay. We're good with that. Still going to be standard. But we got to order parts. We got to put this thing back together again, clean everything, make sure all the contaminants are out of the system. Use up another gasket set, use up another $100 for the break-in oil, another camshaft and lifter set, and then do it all over again. That's how it goes. Unfortunately, like Rich said, profitability on this job is out the window. There's nothing you're gonna make out of this one. But that's how it goes. Got a couple days, we should have some parts, and we'll do this all over again. So, thanks for being here, folks. This story continues with our customer's 1979 Trans Am that you now see back there on the waiting rack, and we got to move on to some other projects while we're waiting on parts. So, we'll get on to the next stuff while we're waiting on stuff, and then we'll get back on the Trans Am. By the way, we still have another Pontiac motor sitting right here for all you poncho people. That's my 350 out of my 71 Le Mans that's outside. And the AMC 304 Max bore sitting right there, ready to go to Mr. Bob McVeigh's place as soon as I officially apologize profusely that we can't keep any kind of time schedule and beg and plead for a spot on your dyno schedule, sir. Please. Thanks for watching, folks. You know, we're being honest. This is how things go. This is not a TV show. This is real life mechanic stuff. See you in the next one. Take care.